Hi, I'm following along with Paul McWhorter's AI for Everyone lessons. And in lesson 27, he didn't give us any homework. That made me so sad. Anyhow, I looked ahead. He's got lessons planned 28, 29, and 30 planned. And I looked on 28, and in the description, it says he's talking about saving and loading data in our gestures. I'm using the PySimpleGUI program module with Python and for this project. And I know Paul's probably going to use Pickle for saving his data, but the PySimpleGUI has a built-in feature called user settings, where it allows you to save your settings to a file. So I figure I'm not stepping on Paul's toes or jumping the gun by posting a video of how I took care of that. Anyhow, let's get to the code. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of everything I've done so far. So people might not watch my previous videos. So like I said, we're using I'm using my CV help helper library that stored all our computer vision classes that we've been working with. So that's where we're getting our hand data. So the hand data is not going to be in this file itself. It's in a separate file. We use NumPy array in here. So we need NumPy, and also we're using computer vision here. So we had to import that. And the different thing that I'm using is I'm using this PySimpleGUI module to create a nice interface for this project. So I came up with a little different way of doing things, and I'm only saving 15 key points, key distances on the hand points, and this is the pairs of points that I'm getting a distance on. And then we're adding a 16th one, is the distance between the base of the hand and the first pinky knuckle. So that's my scaling factor for this. So we'll let that. Paul talked about that in 27, how he implemented it, and his was pretty similar to the way I did it. We got our threshold for whether we're calling it a known or unknown object here is 400. We're creating our error, a list of errors here. We're giving it a initial creation by doing this. I like one of these big numbers there, so it didn't interfere. If we made all zeros, then it'd be false data. So we're starting up our classes in the other file that we have. So that's what this is doing. So I'm going to skip over these for right now and go back and show what we've done in the past. So all that. And then, so we had this is actually the function that gets those distances, that calculates the distances for those key points that we had. So that's there. And then we also had a function to find the error. And then the second half of each of these is where we're calculating our scaling factor and bringing that into play. So this is my PySimpleGUI layout stuff here that we're created. So it's from here to here is how we're creating our GUI layout. One thing we're doing, I don't think I've mentioned this in the past, but we're actually using list comprehension to make this go faster. So you'll see later that I have 10 input boxes and 10 check boxes, and they are all actually created by this little bit of code here, where they put a range statement in at the end. With list comprehension, you can do that, and it goes through and creates how many of these lists there are, and you're able to use your index to work through and have different things. So they'll have different names, our key names that we need, so we can record which events they are. So we're just combining the word gesture with the string for whichever number, so 1 through 9. So and then same way down here we have train, and we're just adding, so train 1, train 2, and gesture 1, gesture 2. So that was fun. And didn't know much about list comprehension in Python, but it certainly in this case, instead of having 20 items to type out to give them all names and everything, you can do it all in this couple lines of code here. So that's kind of interesting that it was another fun feature of PySimpleGUI, because tkinter had nothing like that I could find, that I knew about. And so tkinter would have took 60 lines of code to do what this is doing in 2 lines of code. So yes, I am a fanboy for PySimpleGUI for sure. And then this is all part of our layout where we're putting our laying out and creating our window. This will come later, I'll show you that. But then we got our normal cam start stuff. And then we have just our while true, and we're just working through. I'm gonna leave this up for a second, but it's just we're using the values and the events that are happening when we click a checkbox or we fill in the name or whatever, and we get data from that. And this just takes care of it. And we're, like I say, we're looking for an event that starts with train. So the train is the checkboxes. So when you click it and the check mark comes on, this means that the value is true of that. So if the check mark comes on, then we're going to go ahead and move the current hand position to one of the other ones so that we can save it. And then this is where we're just doing our find errors, and we're running that up into the getting a list of our errors so that we can print it out. And all that's been gone over in other lessons, or Paul, you can check out Paul's lessons to find out what's all going on there. We're just putting it in our window to make it a little bit different. And then at the end, we're just this is getting our frames per second on our screen. And then this event is our boilerplate. If we hit the quit button or we X out of the screen, then we just normally we would just break out of it. But this, I'll talk about this. This is how, when we close the screen, we're actually saving our settings. So that's kind of cool. And like I said, in PySimpleGUI, this is our one line that we need to show our OpenCV webcam is all we need there. So maybe we'll start here at the bottom. for saving our settings. I'll talk about it up top. You want to save them first. So when you go to quit out of it, it's going to go through this and it's going to get the list of names that are in all the list boxes or the input boxes that we have up there. And it's going to get the names and it's going to put it in an array called G names. And it'll have 10 items in that list. I guess it's not an array, it's a list. Okay, and so we have that, and we already have our data, our distance matrix that we have. So we're able to do that. And all you have to do is this set entry, and this actually updates it creates a dictionary in your file is what it does. So this is the name of the dictionary, and this is the data that's in the dictionary. Same way with DM, the data matrix. The one thing we did have to do, this creates a JSON file as opposed to what Pickle creates. So and the JSON file didn't, it made an error when I tried just to do the NumPy array into it. So NumPy has where you can create, change your array into a list. So we do that right before we send it, and we'll do the opposite when we bring it back in from the file. So that's a little extra step. I don't know whether Pickle allows arrays in it or not. Be fun to find out next week if Pickle allows that. I had to search a little bit to figure out how to get around not taking a NumPy array into our JSON file. But anyhow, that's what we did to send it. And so at the end of our code, we have to just make sure we get all the names that we've entered. We're not keeping track of, I mean, they're on the screen, but we're not saving them into a file until the end here. And actually, I can go back up and show you in our layout that we are, oops, too far. So, and as we're creating our layout here, we got our gnames.i. So as we're creating this using our list comprehension, we're actually putting a different name in each one of those boxes. So that's all that can be done. You can put different names in. That's the power of having lists or arrays for doing things, is that you can index through them, and they're really powerful that way. So that's how we get it in. So we'll go back up to the top of how we actually have to do this. And it's actually fairly simple. It's one line of code to set it up, and we're calling our user, creating our file. And you can put it in different places, but if you want to put it in the same path as, in the same folder as your file, which is what, convenient for us, then you just put a dot in there is the way you do it. You can save them any place on the folder in that you want to. And the cool thing is we don't have to actually create this file. It creates us for it if it's not already done. And it, like I say, it's a .json file, but it gives it the same name as whatever the file is. So we're on lesson 27. So my file name up here is cv27a gestures.py. And we can actually look at it. And here's that file. And the JSON file was created just above it right there. So it creates it with the same thing, except it puts the JSON file on it. And then once we do that, we can pull the data out of it if it's already been made. If it hasn't, then it'll just say it won't error out if it doesn't find a file. It just returns a none. So what I'm doing here is if our list is not none, meaning there was a file and we were able to get that list that we want to turn back into a NumPy array. If it is, then we just call I called it DM list is what we're bringing in. And we are just to make it back into a NumPy array. We're just having our list, and then it ends up as the DMS is what we were using all along. But like I said, this is a bookkeeping kind of housekeeping here, that if it doesn't find a list, then it creates our NumPy zeros array with all zeros in it. So that's what we were doing before we started to save them, is we would just create every time we open the program, we'd create the zeros. So now you have the choice. And then we're doing the same thing. We're bringing in the user setting G names, which is a list. And this format here just tells it if you up here, it's going to return a none, but here it's going to just return an empty list if we don't have it. So then G names is either going to have a list of names or it's going to be an empty list. So here we say if G names is an empty list, then we're going to create a list with 10 empty entries in it, separated by commas. So that'll automatically give you that. So that's how that works. And that's basically all there is to it. So I'm going to start out without a file up here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the JSON file for right now. Yes, I want to move it to the recycle bin. So now it's gone. So we can go ahead and just run it, and you'll see that so it hasn't created it yet. The JSON file is not created yet. It creates it when you save it, when you leave. So we'll just put a couple gestures in here. So we'll do fist, and we'll do peace sign, and that'll be enough for now. So we'll do a fist. All right. And then we'll do a peace sign. And you can see we're still, doesn't matter where we are. I did mention in a comment on there that I was thinking about using this for my mobile robot or mobile AI platform that has a camera on it. But this kind of just fails once you get more than 5 feet away. It's failing here because it's a dark room, but I tried it, and more than about 5 or 6 feet, it kind of fails. So anyhow, so we got these two, and it's got the data in there, to the distances so it can compare. But we're going to go ahead and quit out of this. And you can see that our JSON file was created. We can actually look at that JSON file and over here, and it's all on one line, but it has it's a dictionary and it G names, and you can see our zero entry is the unknown, and we don't need to keep track of that. So the 1 through 9 is 1 through 9 is what we're keeping. So we got fist and peace, and then our DMs is a list of lists in this point, and then it'll turn back into a NumPy array when we import it. And we have our distances here that we're keeping track of. So it's kind of fun. We'll go back over to our folder and we'll run this again, and we should end up. And we have the fist and the peace sign still there, and have them checked, and we can see that it still picks up a fist, peace sign, doesn't know anything else. But we can go ahead and add something. We can say like 5 fingers. All right. And what else we want to put? We can do guns up. So we'll do 5 fingers first. Okay. And then we'll do our guns up. Okay, so we go back to 5 fingers, go back to our peace sign, go back to our fist, go back to guns up. Doesn't know that one. 5 fingers it knows. So we can do this again. And like I said, we can still retrain it. Like we could give this actually a different number and retrain it. We could just say 3 fingers. And like I said, to retrain it, you just turn it off and then you retrain it with 3 fingers. So now it's retrained as 3 fingers. So. And it remembers everything else. We're still a fist, 3 fingers, guns up, peace sign, if I can make it, peace sign. And like I said, we can quit out. I don't know, I might have to reload this JSON file. Let's see what's in it now. Oh no, it automatically uploads. So now we got fist, peace, 3 fingers, and guns up in there. And we have more data. You can see the ones that don't have any data, they're all zeros at the end. So that's kind of cool. So, anyhow, I am really, really, really happy with the way this program turned out. So Paul's done a great job, over 30 lessons, giving us a lot of information on OpenCV. I know, I think probably going to end after 30 lessons, but that's a good number. 30, over half a year probably, or close to a half a year. So that was fun. It's been a fun ride for sure. So one thing I want to do with this gestures program is that we're having at the library where I volunteer at, we're having a STEM showcase, and we're trying to generate interest in different things that we do, 3D printing, Arduinos, learning to code with code.org, which is the blocks, learning to code in Python now, and of course learn about electronics along the way. We do soldering workshops and stuff like that. So to generate interest, we're having this STEM workshop, and this program here is going to be one of the points that we're going to let the kids use it and say, hey, learn how to do Python, you can create something like this. So from over there in Africa, Paul's taught a lot of us how to use OpenCV and AI for everyone. And hopefully I can take that torch and keep it carried along and teach spark some interest in some young minds in my area here in Maryland. So I can't thank Paul enough for what he does and look forward to whatever he does in the future. He's a great teacher, and I know that a lot of people learn from him. Thanks for watching.